Remove motor's cover and place it where it will not interfere with installation. Find latch plate at front of motor. Use a metric 8 socket to remove left bolt and to loosen right bolt. Put the removed bolt aside. The next steps are to free the throttle rod, A, and the throttle rod cam, B. On right side of motor, use metric 8 socket to remove bolt. Remove cover plate. Use masking tape to mark the position of throttle and shift cables in relation to barrel adjusters. Tape at arrow positions are touching barrel adjusters. Use needle nose pliers to remove retainers that are holding shift and throttle cables onto silver posts. Put retainers aside. Use metric 8 socket to remove nut and washer, set aside. Use your fingers to swing latch towards rear of motor. Release barrel adjusters and free shift and throttle cable ends from silver posts. Make sure barrel adjusters do not turn during this installation. Use metric 10 open-end wrench to pop throttle rod from retainer in throttle rod cam. Follow throttle rod forward. Use screwdriver to apply downwards pressure to black fitting on end of throttle rod to pop it free from ball stud. Remove throttle rod from motor. Use masking tape to mark end location of black fitting. Unscrew black end fitting. Set all pieces aside. Place finger behind cam to control flat washer at back of cam so you don't drop it. Use metric 10 deep socket to loosen bolt from throttle rod cam. Remove cam assembly from motor. Place metric 7 deep socket facing up on workbench. Place short end of fitting on throttle cam over socket. Press down on throttle cam to compress fingers on fitting. Use screwdriver to put upward pressure on fitting to remove it from cam. Parts supplied in iTroll kit. Place washer, 2, over slip bolt, 1. Slide slip bolt through cam and install lock nut, 3. Tighten lock nut with supplied Allen wrench and metric 13 wrench so that slip bolt can spin in cam with minimal up and down play. Parts in this step were removed with cam. Place flat washer, 1, and wave washer, 2, over shoulder bolt, 3. Slide shoulder bolt through cam, 4. And place flat washer, 5, on threads of shoulder bolt. Place metric 10 socket over hex head of shoulder bolt. Use supplied rubber band to secure flat washer at back of cam as shown. Install throttle cam assembly. Make sure rubber roller on throttle rod cam, indicated by circle, is engaging throttle cable cam. Turn metric 10 socket by hand until you feel threads of shoulder bolt engage. Turn shoulder bolt 2 to 3 turns after threads engage. When 100% sure that shoulder bolt threads are engaged, use needle nose pliers to grab rubber band and cut it with scissors. Remove all pieces of rubber band from motor. Important step. Secure throttle rod cam to motor by placing socket wrench on metric 10 socket and fully tightening shoulder bolt. Install previously removed plastic rod end fitting on iTroll throttle rod. Thread fitting on as far as possible.
I just threaded Mercury's ball end onto the iTroll throttle rod. What I did is threaded it all the way in until the end of the ball end touched the end of the threads, and then I backed it out 2 full turns to adjust the length. Usually that is the perfect length. Make sure that the ball end, the flat surface, is in line with this bend of the rod. The next step is to take the threaded collar supplied in the kit and simply drop it on the other end of the throttle rod. Then take the throttle rod and put the end of it through the slip bolt, the holes in the slip bolt. And when this part of the throttle rod clears the shifter track, rotate the top away from you. What that does is let you clear this pin. Now with my right index finger, I'm going to feel for the ball. I'm actually going to press the ball end up onto the ball, but I'm not snapping it in yet. And what I'm looking for is right about 1/8 of an inch of clearance, plus or minus, on this collar. I'll shine some light down there so you can see it. But that ensures that the throttle will be fully closed. Now let's snap the ball in. Sometimes a two-hand operation. Now we're going to set that collar. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the set screw. Production versions will have a silver set screw on it, but I'm using this because it's a black one and there's contrast versus the collar. I'm going to push the collar up against the slip bolt. I like to use a ruler or something. And then once you've got them snugged up, I'm pushing the ruler towards the back of the motor. You can go ahead and tighten it. Then I'll turn the Allen wrench 90 degrees so I can get more leverage on it and give it a good tightening. So now what we've done is we put in the throttle rod so you can see when I operate Mercury's throttle, we're pushing the throttle forward, but this is the key. When we install the servo on the left side of this rod and push on it, we don't fight the cable and we have nice free movement to open, so the iTroll can open the throttle of the motor. Okay, well, we're going to go to the next step, which is mounting the servo.
Mount servo, A, to bracket, B. Use supplied machine screws and locking nuts. Use metric 8 socket to remove bolt at arrow location. Set bolt aside. Servo installation requires that iTroll is operational. Please scan image or reference the electronic package installation instructions that were packaged with your iTroll.
We've mounted the servo on the bracket and temporarily hooked up iTroll's electronics so we can get the servo to move. What we're going to do is set up the idle point of the servo arm so you don't have to do it while the servo is deep inside the motor. So what we're going to do is lock the iTroll to idle. You can see the confirmation here. So this is a servo arm, it has 4 positions, and it's splined underneath. The fixing screw I put in about 2.5 turns, which allows me to turn the servo arm. What we want to do is put the servo arm this side so it's perpendicular with the servo body. That one looks a little low. This position's pretty close, but it might be pointing a little up. And that looks to be just about right. So what we're going to do now is fix the servo arm with the set screw. Just tighten it so it's snug. You don't have to crank it down. For a better look, here's how the servo goes on the bracket. Here's the bend for reference. The next step is to place a threaded collar on the throttle rod. Take the supplied push rod and thread it through the hole in the servo arm. Then we're going to take the bolt that we removed from here and slide the supplied lock washer on it. Place it through the hole in the servo bracket. Slide the push rod onto the throttle rod. And then using a universal wrench or a universal fitting with an 8mm socket, we're going to fix the servo bracket down. Hopefully I won't hit the camera doing this. Before we tighten the servo bracket all the way down, we want to make sure that this edge of the bracket is parallel with the throttle rod. Look from the back of the motor forward, and it'll be easy to determine the alignment. Now the bend we put in the servo bracket should allow a gap between the servo and the cylinder head back here. Check for that. If not, you can bend the bracket by hand a little bit out. Now the last step to do this is to take the collar. Again, let's make sure that the iTroll is at idle. And so the servo cannot be moved. Let me show you that. I cannot move this servo, so it's locked at idle to make this adjustment easy. Take the collar, make it contact the push rod, pushing it backwards. Use the supplied 1/16 Allen wrench. And just snugly tighten the set screw down. So that completes the installation of the servo motor. Now let's test it. Let's release the iTroll from idle. And now you can see the throttle opening. And that completes your installation. We'll put up a couple of stills after this to show how we ran the wire into the motor and the path to get the control cable to the servo.
iTroll servo cable run into motor through same grommet hole as the throttle cable. iTroll servo cable runs along main harness of motor. Attach throttle cable to motor, 1 put cable end over silver post. 2 place throttle barrel adjuster over threaded stud. 3 install washer/nut over barrel adjuster. Attach shift cable to motor, 4 place cable end over silver post. 5 put shifter barrel adjuster in cavity, close latch. 6 remove masking tape. Install retaining clips that hold shift and throttle cables on their silver posts. Install cover plate and side bolt. Install left bolt through latch plate and side cover. Tighten left and right bolts. The stock throttle rod and throttle cam fitting that are not used with the iTroll installation should be kept in a safe place to allow the motor to be restored to stock configuration. Hint: clip cam fitting on rod to keep them together. Please proceed with installation of iTroll electronics package and neutral safety interface.